Hi, this is Ask Dr. Anna, and we are very, very excited today to have Dr. Jonice Webb with us. She is the author of Running on Empty, and it's really all about emotional neglect. And I have been trying to get Dr. Webb to speak with me for a number of months because I'm so excited about the work that she's doing. And I have to say, because of the focus in my practice on trauma, I have really noticed that those who have a sturdy and secure attachment tend to navigate their trauma experiences better than those who seem to have experienced a lot of neglect when they were growing up. And when I came across this work by Dr. Jonice Webb, I felt like it was a eureka moment. So I've been really encouraging people to think about and read your book, Jonice, and I'm so excited that you're here to speak with me. So, Jonice, I wonder if you would be so kind as to tell me a little bit about what got you thinking about emotional neglect and moving in that direction with your career.
Well, kept seeing patients who kept repeating the same patterns to me. I just kept seeing it over and over and over in person after person in my office. And it was a pattern that no one else had seemed to be talking about. And the more I saw it, the more curious I got about what was causing it. And then I realized that because I kept looking for trauma, and a lot of my patients themselves were looking for some kind of childhood event that had caused them to struggle like this as adults. And eventually I realized it wasn't anything that had happened to them, it was what had failed to happen for them.
Wow.
And so then I realized I needed to not only give it a name, but write a book and start really trying to educate people about it. So that's been my mission for the last few years.
So how many years before you started to really understand the pattern itself that you're referring to? You were in practice for a number of years. How many years before you really kind of figured it out?
Well, I've been a licensed psychologist for over 20, and I would say it was probably about 10 years in that just various things happened um, in different parts of my life that it all just kind of came together and started to gel in my mind. And the more I understood it, and the more I started to see it, and the more I saw it, the more I started to understand it, and it just kept going from there.
So do you have a typical adult emotional neglect picture in your mind? Because you're talking about a pattern. What's that pattern, and can you describe it as it is embodied in a person that you've worked with, maybe?
Sure. The pattern is a sort of a feeling like I should be happier than I am. There's something wrong with me. And now these feelings don't just come up suddenly. They've just been there for so long that they're almost a part of the person's identity. And a lot of people who feel this way think everyone else feels this way. So they don't even recognize that there's anything wrong with it. But it's basically just a feeling that something is not right with me. I'm somehow flawed and I'm different than other people and I'm alone in the world. It's sort of a disconnected, separated feeling.
Now,
And
mhm. Now you have this kind of incredible classification system, 12 different kinds of parenting types that
Mhm.
lead to somebody developing emotional neglect, like the permissive parent, bereaved, the authoritarian, the narcissist, addicted, depressed, and on and on and on, right? But what I'm really interested in is when when you're working with the emotional neglected person and you see the pattern, where do you start? I mean, what can you offer these emotional neglected people who've got this pattern? What do they need to do? What do they need to know?
Well, the first big step is for them to recognize why they feel this way. And this is often the most difficult one because a lot of people with childhood emotional neglect had actually quite nice parents who loved them. And so it's really hard to imagine or believe that your parents failed you in this way that has left you struggling so much. So it can be very difficult to get people to admit it and
So they're not
recognize.
necessarily horrible, awful parents. So it's very confusing because they may have wonderful redeeming qualities, and then you're just going like, how can this be my experience?
Exactly. And then to acknowledge it, it feels like you're blaming them. You're blaming these wonderful parents who gave you life for it also damaging you. So, one of the things that I try to do is help people understand this is not about blame, it's about understanding and seeing what went wrong and then fixing it. And the fixing it part really is a series of steps which involves welcoming back all of the emotions that you pushed away as a child. And that's really the cause of all of the symptoms that I just described. The child gets a message from the parents that his or her feelings don't matter or are invisible or are unwelcome in the home, and so pushes them down in a way to get by. Then as an adult, though, that child is grown up and has no access to his or her emotions, or not enough. And that leaves you feeling empty. It leaves you not knowing how to connect with people. It leaves you feeling very alone, because that's what our feelings do for us, is they connect us with other people. They inform us about what to do in the world. They enrich our lives and give us meaning. And if you're missing all of that, you just have that empty sort of I'm different feeling, and I don't fit in anywhere, and I'm alone.
You know, in my work, I've started to use the term being part of the larger human community. And this theme, this idea of being part of the larger human community for trauma survivors often strikes a chord. I would imagine that it really strikes the chord for people who have emotional neglect also, because they would feel like they're not part of that. That piece would be missing.
Yeah, I think it's on all levels. Anything that you would emotionally connect to as a person who has access to your emotions, you can't connect to, because you just don't have that venue there, that sort of connection or the lifeline that connects us to everyone else.
Now, you've shared with me the fact that you're working right now on a launch for a free online program to help people with emotional neglect. That is incredible, because I would imagine you would be able to reach out to thousands and thousands of people who have this deep, deep need. And I just wonder, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I guess that's part of the how you're helping.
Yes. Well, I get lots of requests from people to do Skype treatment, which I don't do, unfortunately. And I wanted to be able to reach a lot more people and sort of give them some guidelines for what to do to recover. So this is why I'm developing this program. It's 3 free videos. And if people go to my website and join my newsletter, they'll be kept aware of when it's coming out in early November. And the videos will walk people through the process of recognizing and owning emotional neglect, and starting to take the steps towards recovery and exactly what those are, and also help people decide whether they need a therapist or if they can do it on their own, or how they want to recover.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you want us to know or think that would be helpful for our viewers to know about your method, or resources that might be available?
One thing I did want to say, because I know that a lot of people who watch your videos have a trauma history. And a lot of people, what I described, the child who grows up with lovely parents, but also emotional neglect is just a part, it's built into childhood abuse as well, because no parent can abuse a child without ignoring their emotions, right? So
Absolutely.
a lot of people will work on their trauma or their abuse history and make a lot of progress with that, but still feel all this stuff deep down that I described. And it's because they haven't dealt with the emotional neglect piece of it yet. So I just wanted to draw attention to that is also like a second phase of recovery for a lot of people who were abused growing up.
You know, your work is so impressive to me, Jonice. I'm just very grateful that you've joined us today, and I want to do a quick recap of the things that you've focused on today. So, first of all, the first step is to really take the time to recognize that there is emotional neglect, because for most people they don't even recognize that this is happening. They're so disconnected from their own emotions. Two is to welcome in your emotions, to really learn to have access to them, and to recognize that you're not alone and that you can find ways to reconnect and, my language, become part of the larger human community. And three, that you are offering this wonderful opportunity for people to be part of a free online emotional neglect program where they will receive 3 free videos, and we'll make sure that we put the link in for people to become aware of that. And this is Dr. Jonice Webb. She's the author of Running on Empty, an emotional neglect focused book. And I just want to thank you so much for the wonderful work that you're doing, and for joining us today to talk about this topic and to better understand the impact on the individuals around, and the fact that there is hope, that people can become informed, inspired, and uplifted, and learn to grow beyond their experience.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
For more Ask Dr. Anna videos and information about post-traumatic growth and recovery, subscribe and like our YouTube videos at What is PTSD, or join us at previous video episodes in our playlist Ask Dr. Anna from the Traumatology Institute team.